Creating these videos takes a lot of time, effort, and energy. Please support the channel by hitting that like button and subscribing. Your support helps us keep making more videos like this. I woke up to the radio. That shouldn't have been unusual. I usually left it on low overnight, a habit from years of prepping, years of wanting to be ready for something. A storm, a blackout, a fire, maybe even the end of the world itself. But this wasn't a storm, not even close. The static cut through the quiet of our cabin like glass. I bolted upright in bed, heart hammering, Emily stirring beside me. Lily still asleep in her crib. Jacob? Emily mumbled, sleep thick in her voice. Radio, I said, voice tight. Something's wrong. I grabbed the handheld ham and flipped the switch. Voices came in fragmented, distorted, urgent. A shopkeeper screaming, a neighbor crying, some broadcast looping over and over. Get inside. Stay inside. Contamination. Contamination. I had been ready for emergencies, sure, but this felt different. The words hit me like a punch in the gut. Something was happening in town. Something big. I didn't think. I acted. I threw on clothes, grabbed my rifle, and ran to the window. The streets below were empty, or at least what I could see through the foggy morning light. Cars were abandoned, doors wide open. Smoke curled in the distance. Not fire, something else. Panic, chaos. Emily joined me, eyes wide, heart racing. Jacob, what is it? I didn't answer. Couldn't. I had to move. Lily had to be safe. Always her first. Always Emily second. Everyone else, later. I checked our emergency supplies, ammo, water, food, first aid. Everything I had stockpiled over the years. I had spent hours, months, years, preparing for this kind of day, even if I never knew exactly what this would look like. And now I knew. By the time I strapped on my rifle and checked the locks on the cabin, the radio was screaming again. A voice, panicked, cut through. They bite. They change. Don't go outside. That word, bite, made my stomach twist. I had seen plenty of accidents, plenty of deaths. I had been trained to respond, to protect. But the fear that clawed up my spine told me this was something else. Something unprepared for. Emily held Lily tight, her voice trembling. Jacob, we can't stay here? I shook my head. No, not yet. We need to fortify, get supplies, be ready. She nodded, but I could see the fear in her eyes. My job wasn't just survival anymore. It was their survival. I grabbed my bug-out bag, extra ammunition, water, first aid, some canned food. Packed it like a soldier preparing for war. But inside, a cold pit of dread had settled. I glanced out the window again. The streets weren't empty anymore. Figures were moving. Slow, staggering, unnatural. Some stumbled like drunkards. Some worse. Their skin was pale, mottled, their movements jerky. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but my gut told me it wasn't a hallucination. Emily, I whispered, lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone. Not yet. She obeyed instantly, her hands trembling. Lily whimpered in her sleep. The first hour was just watching, waiting, planning. Every instinct I had screamed at me to move, to act, to protect. But there was still time. Maybe. Time was the one thing I knew I wouldn't have much of once this outbreak really hit. And I realized then, as the first groans from outside reached my ears, that everything I'd done to prepare might not be enough. Not for the living, not for the dead. I had survived drills, storms, power outages. I had never survived this. and I wasn't sure I would. I was crouched near the window, scanning the street, when the pounding came. It wasn't the dead. It wasn't their moans. This was human. A frantic, desperate knock on the reinforced gate. My rifle was already in hand before Emily even whispered my name. "Jacob!" Her voice trembled. Through the slats I saw her. Sarah McAllister. Our neighbor 2 ridges over. Face streaked with dirt, blood on her blouse. Behind her, clutching her arm, was her teenage son, Aaron. His eyes were wide, blank with fear. I knew instinctively what Emily was thinking. They'll bring death to the gate. But another thought hit me like a hammer. What if they're already infected? I let them in. Sarah collapsed just inside, gasping. Aaron's arm was torn. Deep bite marks, angry and red. Emily immediately went to work with the medical kit, trying to stabilize him. They bit him at the store, Sarah admitted, voice breaking. I thought we could make it to the hospital. Marcus, an old friend and ex-EMT, arrived moments later, lugging his duffel of supplies. He crouched over Aaron, silent, professional, but I could see the worry in his eyes. It's deep, Marcus said finally. Could be just a tear, but if it's a bite. He didn't finish. I didn't need him to. Sarah's gaze locked on me, pleading. Please, Jacob, he's all I've got. I wanted to lie, to say everything would be okay, but I knew the truth. Some choices have no good outcome. Before I could breathe, another vehicle arrived, headlights bobbing through the morning fog. Out stepped Mara Sullivan, holding her daughter Nisha. The girl was no older than 15, fevered, shaking, blood soaking through a bandage on her leg. Mara's eyes were wild with fear. Please, she begged. She's hurt. They wouldn't take her at the hospital. She needs help. Dale Knox, my longtime prepper buddy, muttered from the corner. Don't do it, Jacob. Letting more in is suicide. But Lily's small voice floated from behind Emily. Daddy, we have to help. I didn't answer. I opened the gate. Inside, the cabin became a triage center. Emily and Marcus tried to stabilize Aaron and Nisha. Sarah whispered prayers over her son. Mara clutched her daughter tight. Dale paced, muttering under his breath about too many mouths and dead weight. Then Nisha convulsed. Her eyes rolled back, guttural growls spilling from her throat. She thrashed, snapping at her mother. I froze. Emily yelled, "Hold her down!" I wanted to believe Mara could stop it, that her daughter was still inside. But I couldn't. I raised my rifle, hands shaking. Every instinct screamed against this, but I pulled the trigger. Her body went limp. Mara collapsed over her, wailing. Lily hid her eyes in Emily's shoulder. And for the first time, I understood the cost of being a prepper. Survival meant choices no parent should ever make. We buried Nisha behind the cabin. A crude cross marked the spot. Mara sat beside it, whispering broken prayers. Lily left Clover, her stuffed bunny, at the base of the grave. Emily tried to retrieve it, but Lily shook her head. She needs it more now, she said softly. Dale cornered me later, eyes hard. See? This is what happens when you let your heart get in the way. Next time, it won't be one. You've doomed us, Jacob. I didn't answer, because part of me already wondered if he was right. The first hours had a body count, and it was only climbing. After Nisha's death, the cabin felt hollow. No one spoke. The only sound was Lily's soft whimper from Emily's lap, or the faint scrape of Mara's hands on the wooden cross marking Nisha's grave outside. Sarah had curled over Aaron, whispering fragments of prayers that made no sense to anyone but her. And me? I cleaned my rifle on the porch. Each motion was mechanical, but my hands shook. I kept telling myself, "You're prepared. You can handle this." I was lying. Dale finally broke the silence, pacing like a caged animal. "You see? This is why we can't take anyone else in. Mercy'll get us killed faster than the dead ever could," he said. His eyes locked on me. "You pulled the trigger, Jacob. You need to make the rules. No more bleeding hearts." Sarah snapped, voice trembling. "So you'd leave us to die?" Dale sneered. "If it keeps my family breathing, yes." Marcus stepped forward, fists clenched. "You ever carried the weight of deciding who lives and dies? No? Then shut your mouth." I shoved between them. My voice cracked, low and desperate. "Enough. We need each other alive more than we need to be right." But part of me knew Dale wasn't entirely wrong. While the arguing continued in whispers, I checked on Aaron. His wound was spreading, angry and dark. He sweated through his shirt, lips dry. Sarah grabbed my sleeve. "Don't let them take him from me. Promise me, Jacob. Please." I didn't promise, but I didn't say no. Her eyes, they carried everything she had left in the world. And for the first time, I realized survival wasn't just about me anymore. It was about carrying the weight of everyone's lives. Then came the sound I'd been dreading. A dull thud at the gate. Another. Then the dragging, wet moans. I peered through the slats. 5 of them at least, bodies twisted, skin gray and mottled. Dale chambered around. "We should take them now," he said. I nodded, rifle raised. One shot cracked through the morning stillness. Another fell to Dale's bullet. The rest clawed at the fallen, snarling. I realized they were learning, following sound. We weren't safe anymore. When the last body was cleared, we retreated inside. The blood on the gate had turned to a crusty dark stain. Lily clung to Emily, whispering questions too quiet to hear. Sarah stayed by Aaron's side, hands trembling. Mara sat at the table, staring at nothing, her hands still stained from Nisha. She hadn't washed them. Dale paced. Every so often, he muttered under his breath, words like weak, stupid, dead weight. And me? I sat alone on the porch, rifle across my lap, listening to the moans in the distance. Every decision from the last 4 hours had cut away another piece of me. I thought being a prepper would save me from impossible choices. It hadn't. Survival wasn't about ammo or water or food. It was about carrying the unbearable weight of life and death decisions. And I was starting to wonder how much of me would remain by hour 12. Aaron's condition worsened. His breath came in shallow, rattling gasps, each one a cruel reminder that I wasn't fast enough, not prepared enough to stop this. Emily hovered, gently wiping sweat from his brow, muttering reassurances I didn't feel. Sarah wouldn't leave his side. She rocked him in her arms, whispering broken prayers, lullabies, promises that wouldn't save him. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words stuck in my throat. There was no comfort I could offer. Not now. Mara watched silently from the corner, her face pale, hollow from grief and exhaustion. Dale, of course, had other ideas. Dale leaned against the counter, arms crossed. He's gone. Best put him down before he turns. I spun toward him. No. Not while there's still a chance. Sarah's scream pierced the air. How dare you? He's my son. Dale shrugged, as though her grief was an annoyance. I'm not soft. You are. That's why you'll get us killed. Marcus moved between us. "Back off, Dale. Not today." Emily grabbed Lily, shielding her from the tension. I realized then that survival wasn't just about the dead anymore, it was about the living too. The ones whose hearts were breaking in front of you, whose minds were crumbling under fear. I couldn't watch anymore. I turned back to Aaron. His skin was pale, lips flecked with blood. The dark veins around his wound spread like cracks in ice. I wanted to scream, to beg the world to stop. But I had to stay calm. For Emily, for Lily, for Marcus, for Mara, and for Sarah, who refused to let go. I realized, with a pit in my stomach, that no prepper skills, no stock supplies, no rifles could save him. Then it happened. Aaron's eyes fluttered open, but they weren't the boy's eyes anymore. They were glazed, clouded, a hunger lurking beneath the surface. Sarah's hands tightened on him, desperate, protective, futile. I raised my rifle, hands shaking, aiming for the head. Dale didn't hesitate. His pistol barked once. Aaron crumpled, dead in his mother's arms. The sound of Sarah's scream will haunt me forever. I had survived countless drills, countless scenarios. But nothing could prepare me for this. Nothing could prepare anyone. Silence fell like a stone. Sarah collapsed, clutching Aaron's body, rocking in a grief so deep it nearly broke me. Marcus and I covered him with a sheet, Emily holding Lily close. Mara stood apart, watching, a shadow of her own loss, still haunted by Nisha. Dale, of course, gloated in silence, his eyes gleaming with the certainty of someone who believes only in himself. I wanted to hate him. I did, but the truth sat heavy in my chest. This wasn't just Dale's fault. It was ours, all of ours. Every decision, every hesitation, every heartbeat had consequences. And the dead outside the cabin? They were circling, patient, waiting. I realized something then, a cold, terrifying truth. Surviving the first hours of this outbreak wasn't about rifles, barricades, or prepper skills. It was about surviving each other. Because when the living started breaking, when grief and fear collided, that's when the real danger began. And I was about to see just how far humans could fall. The sun was low, and the shadows in the woods stretched long and wrong. I couldn't see all of them yet, but I could feel it, Dale's presence outside the cabin. He wasn't pacing anymore. He was watching, waiting, smirking, I imagined, like a predator circling a wounded prey. I kept Emily and Lily behind me, Mara and Marcus flanking the other side. The rifle felt heavier than ever. Dale had always been reckless, obsessed with self-preservation. But now I understood something worse. He didn't just want to survive. He wanted us to fail. Then I saw it, a flickering glow weaving through the trees. Dale's lantern, and behind it, a trail of the dead, gathering, drawn by the light he carried. My stomach turned. He'd led them here. He hadn't abandoned us to save himself. He doomed us. Emily gasped, clutching Lily tighter. "Jacob!" I said nothing. There were no words strong enough for this. We barricaded the windows again. Boards creaked and splintered under the weight of the night's wind. Marcus checked weapons, loading what we had left. Mara sharpened her knife, hands trembling. Sarah. She was still curled up with Aaron's body, quiet now, broken. I realized that keeping them alive meant more than killing the dead. It meant holding the living together, even when the living were falling apart. Dale's betrayal had fractured something inside the cabin already. Fear, anger, grief, they were all sharpening into something dangerous. The horde reached the outer tree line. I could hear them clearly now. Wet, sucking groans, branches snapping under weight. The lantern danced closer, dragging dozens of them through the forest. Dale wasn't running. He wasn't hiding. He was showing them the way. I couldn't tell if he thought he was clever or just cruel. Marcus muttered, "They'll be here in minutes. Brace yourselves." I nodded, feeling the old instinct rising, the one I'd honed over years of prepper drills. Protect Emily. Protect Lily. Protect whoever I could, no matter the cost. I scanned the tree line, rifle ready, finger on the trigger. My heart hammered, blood pumping, and adrenaline made my hands steady even though my chest felt like it was being crushed. Dale had made his choice. He was a wolf in the dark, circling us, using the dead as his weapon. But I had my own family, and I wasn't going to let anyone, alive or undead, take them. Whatever came next, I was ready to face it, because the first 12 hours of this nightmare were only half over, and I was already carrying scars that no one could see. The moans were louder now, closer, heavy hands raking at the cabin's walls. Boards splintered under their weight. We had barricaded everything we could, but the wood groaned, threatening to give way. Emily pressed Lily to her chest. "Jacob, they're coming." I didn't answer. My eyes were fixed on the door. Each shadow outside felt alive, hungry, unstoppable. And somewhere in those shadows, Dale Knox was waiting, watching, smiling. I saw him clearly then, moving through the trees, lantern swinging, pistol in hand. He wasn't fleeing. He was leaving a trail for the horde. I raised my rifle. "Dale, stop." He turned slowly, smirk twisting his face. "You can't save them all, Jacob. You know that. I'm taking care of myself." The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. Years of friendship, of prepper drills, of shared plans gone. Emily whispered, "Jacob." I swallowed the anger and fear. This wasn't just about Dale. It was about keeping everyone alive. The boards at the windows cracked. Splinters flew as one of them broke through. A walker tumbled inside, jaws snapping. Marcus swung his hatchet, dropping it, but more came. We fought like cornered animals. Mara's knife flashed. Emily swung a frying pan. Lily screamed, buried against her mother. Through the chaos, I saw Dale's lantern bobbing among the trees. He hadn't run. He was leading them. I gritted my teeth. He wasn't just selfish. He was dangerous. One of the dead grabbed Emily's arm. I pulled the rifle stock into my shoulder and fired, dropping it before it could bite. Mara screamed behind me. Marcus groaned, swinging a plank to keep another at bay. And Sarah, she didn't move. Her grief was absolute. She clung to Aaron's sheet-covered body like a lifeline. I realized then that survival wasn't just about killing the dead. It was about holding everyone together, and I was the only one left who could do it. The first wave was pushed back, but the cabin reeked of blood, sweat, and fear. I checked on Emily and Lily. They were shaking but alive. I looked toward the trees. Dale's lantern glowed, distant but mocking. He had led the dead here, but I wouldn't let him or them take us. I tightened my grip on the rifle. Whatever came next, whatever horrors awaited, I would fight. Because at this point, survival wasn't just instinct. It was all I had left. The pounding had never stopped. The dead pressed against the cabin like a tide, hands clawing, teeth snapping. Every wall groaned under the pressure. Emily held Lily close, rocking her, whispering words I couldn't hear. Mara's knuckles were white as she gripped her knife. Marcus was pale, but steady, swinging his hatchet with the last of his strength. And Sarah? She hadn't moved from Aaron. Not even when the moans outside rose to a crescendo. She whispered to him like he was alive. I hated myself for not being able to reach her, for not being able to save all of them. Mara finally spoke, voice trembling but fierce. We can't hold them forever. We'll all die if we stay here like this. Sarah's gaze snapped toward her. You don't get it. He's my son. I lost my daughter. Mara shouted. I know. The room erupted in chaos. I had to push between them, arms wide, shouting, Enough! This isn't the time to fight each other. Part of me realized that she was right. Arguments, blame, they would kill us faster than the dead ever could. Then I saw it. Movement outside. Dale. Still in the trees. Still watching. Still leading the horde toward us. Emily gasped. Jacob! I wanted to scream, to run, to stop him. But there was no time. The first window splintered. Hands reached through. Teeth snapped. The cabin erupted. Mara stabbed. Marcus swung. Emily screamed. Lily screamed. And I fired until my arms ached, until my rifle was empty. Then Sarah stood. For hours she had been broken, lost in grief. But now she lifted Aaron's lifeless body, trembling but resolute. You can't save us all, she whispered, and then she threw him into the horde. The dead surged, tearing him apart instantly. Sarah didn't fight. She let the wave swallow him, giving us a chance to breathe, to regroup. I felt horror, awe, and disbelief all at once. The sacrifice bought us seconds, maybe minutes, but at a cost that would haunt me forever. Basement, Marcus shouted. We grabbed Emily and Lily, dragging Mara down the hatch first. Marcus and I brought supplies. I covered the retreat, bullets cracking, hatchet swinging, heart hammering. The cabin was lost. The horde poured in, and Dale's lantern bobbed in the distance, a beacon that had brought death to our doorstep. I glanced back once. I didn't see him smile anymore, but I knew he was out there, watching, waiting, thriving on our fear. We slammed the hatch shut. Darkness, dampness, fear. Lily clung to Emily, whimpering. Mara sat against the wall, knife still in hand, shaking. Marcus checked his wounds. I sat opposite them, rifle empty, ears ringing, heart heavy. I had survived another hour closer to 12. But the cost, Sarah, Nisha, Aaron would never leave me. And I realized with chilling clarity, survival is never clean. The pounding had become a roar. The dead pressed against the cabin walls like water over a dam. Every board splintered under their weight. I stood by the basement hatch, rifle in hand, chest heaving. Emily held Lily close, eyes wide. Mara tightened her grip on her knife, Marcus brandishing a crowbar. Every muscle coiled for the fight. And above us, the cabin groaned, ready to give way. Dale's lantern flickered in the trees. He hadn't fled. He had led them here. And now the wolves were at the door. The front door splintered under the weight of fists and claws. Walkers poured through the gap, snarling, teeth snapping. Marcus swung a plank. Mara stabbed. Emily screamed as Lily clutched her tightly. I fired 1 shot, 2 shots, each bullet a promise that they wouldn't take my family. But there were too many. The cabin was collapsing. The dead, relentless, blood everywhere, screams everywhere, and Sarah gone. Her sacrifice had bought time, yes, but it had cost everything she had left. I had to act. Emily and Lily needed me. Marcus, Mara, they needed me. But the dead were everywhere, and the hatch was the only way out. I grabbed Mara's arm. "Go! Take Emily and Lily." She hesitated. I didn't give her time. I pushed them down into the basement, Marcus covering behind them. I stayed behind. One last stand. One last line. The last thing I remember before I pulled myself into the basement was Dale's lantern flickering in the trees. A smirk I could almost feel. Then, the hatch slammed above us. Darkness. Silence. Except for the distant, wet pounding of teeth and claws on wood. I sank against the wall, rifle empty, lungs burning. Emily held Lily, sobbing quietly. Mara sat, knife still in hand, shaken but alive. Marcus checked wounds in silence. I was alive, but alive didn't feel like living. I thought of Nisha, of Aaron, of Sarah, of every person we couldn't save. Being a prepper hadn't saved them. Being careful hadn't saved them. Only action, luck, and brutal choices had kept the rest of us alive. I whispered to myself, almost afraid to hope, we survived 12 hours. Somehow we survived. But as I listened to the groaning above, I realized the nightmare wasn't over. Not by a long shot. And I understood something cold and certain. Survival is not victory. It's a burden. One we carry hour by hour, choice by choice. The basement was dark, damp, and heavy with fear. Every shadow felt like a hand reaching for us. Lily clung to Emily, still shivering, but alive. Mara sat against the wall, knife in hand, staring blankly. Marcus cleaned his wounds in silence. And me? I sat against the wall, rifle empty, ears ringing, heart pounding, mind replaying every moment of the last 12 hours. I had survived, somehow. But what did surviving mean when Sarah, Nisha, and Aaron were gone? Their faces haunted me. Nisha's terrified eyes, Aaron's confused, fading gaze, Sarah's final, selfless act. I could still hear their screams. I could still feel their absence pressing down on me, crushing me with guilt. Dale Knox was still out there, alive, free, a predator in the dark. The thought of him surviving while others had perished left a bitter taste in my mouth. I looked at Lily, her small chest rising and falling against Emily's. I swore I would do whatever it took to keep her alive. Not because survival was heroic, not because I wanted glory, but because she deserved a future. Emily would live too, and Marcus, and Mara. I would protect them even if it cost me everything else. Through the boarded windows I could see the forest. Somewhere, Dale's lantern flickered. Somewhere, the horde roamed, patient, hungry, relentless. I didn't know if the next hour would bring safety or death. I didn't know if we'd make it through the next day. But I had to try, because if I didn't, Lily wouldn't have a father. Emily wouldn't have a husband. And no one would survive to tell the story of the first 12 hours. I whispered to myself, we survived. Somehow we survived. And somehow, I will keep surviving.